Welcome back to the Deep Dive, everyone. Your shortcut to, well, really getting to grips with complex topics. Today, we are taking a journey deep into the world of cellular longevity. We're focusing on a compound that's, honestly, it's really captured the imagination of researchers and, enthusiasts, too. It's called Epithalon. It's a synthetic tetrapeptide, and its story, well, it's fascinating. Deeply rooted in some really foundational research into our own pineal gland. And to help us navigate this pretty complex material, I am genuinely thrilled to have an incredible expert joining me, a neuroscientist specializing in neuropeptides and behavior. Your insights are going to be absolutely invaluable as we unpack all of this today.
Oh, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. This particular peptide, Epithalon, it really does offer a fascinating window, doesn't it, into the potential for precision in understanding our own biology and maybe even modulating it, especially when you think about the really intricate processes of aging. So yeah, I'm excited to dive in.
Absolutely. Me too. So our mission today really is to get a handle on why Epithalon is seen as such a compelling player in these discussions about healthy aging. We want to understand how it might regulate our body's internal clocks, those crucial circadian rhythms, and maybe even how it seems to enhance cellular resilience against, the inevitable wear and tear of time. This isn't just about one molecule. It's a deep dive into something that seems to be, gently nudging our fundamental biological systems, maybe towards a more youthful state. Okay, let's unpack this science together. So let's start right at the beginning. For a lot of you listening, Epithalon, it might be a totally new name. Before we get into all its potential effects, can you just tell us what is Epithalon exactly, and how did it even come about?
Yeah, absolutely. What's really striking about Epithalon right from the start is its elegant simplicity, you could say. It's often described as a tiny peptide, and molecularly speaking, that's exactly what it is. It's a tetrapeptide.
Tetrapeptide.
Meaning it's made of just 4 amino acids. Now think about proteins in our body, hundreds, thousands of amino acids sometimes.
Right, huge chains.
Exactly. Epithalon simplifies that dramatically. The sequence is alanine, glutamic acid, aspartic acid, and glycine, a la gluaspile. That makes it incredibly small. Molecular weight around 390 daltons. Tiny.
Wow.
And that small size, as we'll definitely get into, is really key to how it seems to function. But this simplicity, it hides a pretty groundbreaking origin story. Epithalon wasn't just, whipped up randomly in a lab. It actually came out of decades of really extensive pioneering studies, mostly by Russian gerontologists back in the 80s and 90s.
Okay, so this has been around for a while in research circles.
Oh, yes. Their focus wasn't on making new compounds from scratch initially. They were trying to understand and leverage the power of natural extracts from the pineal gland. They were particularly interested in this longer, more complex peptide extract called epithalomine.
Epithalon, got it.
Yeah. And this extract had shown some really tantalizing anti-aging properties in their early research. It hinted at something fundamental going on in the pineal chemistry.
So they started with something natural, saw it did interesting things, and then worked backwards, almost, to find the active bit. Sounds like a long haul.
It absolutely was a real testament to, scientific perseverance and meticulous work.
Yeah.
Professor Vladimir Kavinson and his team, they were at the St. Petersburg Institute of Bioregulation and Gerontology. They were really leading this charge. They'd spent years studying epithalomine, seeing these broad anti-aging effects in different models. But the huge breakthrough came in the early 90s. They took on this massive task of analyzing epithalomine's complex amino acid sequence. And through that really rigorous analysis, they managed to pinpoint these 4 specific amino acids, allyl-ascoli, as the minimal, most active part, the bit responsible for most of epithalomine's anti-aging activity.
Wow.
Then they successfully synthesized just that precise minimal sequence, and that right there was the birth of Epithalon.
So they basically distilled this complex natural recipe down to its absolute core secret sauce. The essential piece that was delivering the anti-aging effects. That's pretty amazing biological detective work.
Exactly. It was a remarkable scientific achievement, finding the exact minimal sequence needed instead of using the whole complex extract. And that's why Epithalon is often called the pineal peptide.
Ah, okay. Makes sense.
It's essentially mimicking a piece of the pineal gland's own youth-regulating chemistry. It's custom designed to replicate what our pineal gland does naturally to help maintain youthful function. It's a really neat example of learning from nature to create something targeted.
And you mentioned its size again. Because it's so incredibly small, it can do some pretty remarkable things inside our cells.
Yeah.
Even get right into the control center.
That's right. Its tiny size isn't just a footnote, it's absolutely crucial to its proposed mechanism. It means it has high bioavailability, it can get absorbed by cells relatively easily, it can cross cell membranes that bigger molecules just can't. But here's the really interesting part. Its size seems to allow it to even enter the cell nucleus.
The nucleus. Wow.
Yeah, the command center, right, where our DNA is. Once inside the nucleus, Epithalon is thought to directly influence gene activity, regulating gene expression. This unique ability to interact right at the genetic level, that's central to how it's proposed to work on these fundamental aging processes, right from the deepest level of the cell. It's like encouraging a more youthful, resilient genetic program.
So if I'm getting this right, it's almost like scientists found a tiny specific key, one that can unlock or maybe tweak parts of our cell's genetic operating system, kind of guiding them back towards a more useful state. Is that a fair way to think about it?
That's an excellent analogy. Yeah, you've really captured the essence there. It's a very elegant example of how targeted peptide research can uncover these fundamental biological regulators. Now, it's also really important to add some context here. While Epithalon has been used experimentally in Russia, parts of Eastern Europe, for quite some time, and it's definitely gaining interest globally, it is not an approved medicine or supplement in most Western countries, like the US or Europe. It's primarily used in research settings, or sometimes sourced by individuals for, specialized experimental peptide regimens. But it's not something you can just buy off the shelf as a health product.
Right. Okay. That's a really important distinction. Still very much in the research and experimental phase for many. But the very idea of influencing aging at such a fundamental level, that naturally leads us straight to one of the most talked about aspects.
Yeah.
Telomeres.
And telomerase.
Yes, this really is a cornerstone of Epithalon's reputation. It's why it generates so much excitement in the longevity field.
Yeah.
So telomeres, the analogy everyone uses is the plastic tips on shoelaces. Right, I've heard that one.
And it's a good one. Just like those tips stop your laces fraying, telomeres are these protective caps on the ends of our chromosomes. They're absolutely vital. They protect our DNA, our genetic material, from damage when cells divide. Now, here's the catch. Every single time a cell divides, a little bit of that telomere gets shortened. It's a natural part of cellular aging.
The clock is ticking, basically.
Exactly. It's a cellular clock. Eventually, when those telomeres get too short, critically short, the cell just can't divide safely anymore. It might stop dividing altogether, enter senescence, become kind of old and dysfunctional, or sometimes even undergo programmed cell death. So yeah, telomeres are literally counting down a cell's lifespan.
So they're not just passive protectors, they're actively shortening and limiting the cell's future.
Precisely. And this is where Epithalon's potential direct impact is so compelling. It appears to stimulate an enzyme called telomerase.
Telomerase, okay.
Now, telomerase is kind of the hero enzyme for cellular longevity. It's responsible for rebuilding and extending those telomeres. Think of it as the specialized maintenance crew that comes along and puts new plastic tips back on the shoelaces, restoring them. Most of our normal body cells, somatic cells, they have very low or basically no telomerase activity. That's why the telomeres shorten over time. But if you can stimulate this enzyme, you might be able to counteract that shortening.
Wow. That's a powerful idea, giving cells back their protective tips. So by activating telomerase, Epithalon basically helps cells maintain or even fix their shoelaces, letting them function longer.
Exactly. By helping cells maintain or maybe even lengthen their telomeres, Epithalon could effectively reset their division clock, as some research suggests. This could extend their ability to divide more times, keeping them functional and productive for longer. It's one of the most exciting areas because telomere shortening is such a core hallmark of aging. It suggests a direct intervention right at a fundamental level.
And this isn't just a theory, right? There's actual lab evidence. Can you give us an example?
Oh, absolutely. There's concrete lab work. For instance, there was an in vitro study looking ahead to 2025 data that showed human cells treated with Epithalon displayed dose-dependent telomere lengthening.
Dose-dependent, meaning more Epithalon led to more lengthening.
Exactly. It wasn't random. And it was attributed directly to telomerase activation. The researchers saw these treated cells developed longer chromosome ends, and crucially, they had an extended capacity to divide more times than the untreated cells. It directly shows how Epithalon might influence this key sign of cellular aging. The telomerase enzyme, spurred on by Epithalon, is literally adding new DNA building blocks back onto the ends of the chromosomes, keeping them robust.
Wow. So it's like giving cells significantly more runway, more time to keep functioning healthily.
Hmm.
For anyone thinking about cellular health as they age, what's the kind of core message from this specific mechanism?
I think the core message, the really profound takeaway, is that Epithalon seems to offer a direct molecular way to potentially influence cellular lifespan. It's not just about masking symptoms. It seems to target one of the fundamental mechanisms dictating how many times a cell can divide and therefore how long it stays youthful and functional. Even just seeing this in research models, it suggests a really powerful leverage point for healthy aging. Moving beyond just slowing decline, maybe towards actively promoting resilience at the cellular level, it really hints that we might have more control over those intrinsic cellular clocks than we thought.
That is incredibly insightful. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. From the microscopic cellular clock to our body's bigger daily rhythms. Another major area for Epithalon seems to be its connection to circadian rhythms and that crucial hormone, melatonin. We all know sleep is vital, but how does Epithalon fit into this part of aging?
This is another really critical piece of the puzzle, and it brings us right back to Epithalon's origins, the pineal gland. You see, as we age, our pineal gland, that little pinecone-shaped gland deep in the brain, it naturally, quite predictably, slows down its production of melatonin.
Okay.
And melatonin isn't just the sleep hormone, it's a master regulator of our whole sleep-wake cycle, our master circadian rhythm. This rhythm controls so much more than just sleepiness. It orchestrates hormone release, body temperature, tons of physiological processes. So when melatonin drops with age, our internal clock can get seriously out of sync. That leads to fragmented sleep, feeling tired during the day, and it impacts a whole cascade of other bodily functions. It really affects overall well-being.
So it's not just feeling a bit groggy, it's a system-wide disruption that kind of echoes through the body.
Absolutely. Disrupted circadian rhythms are a major feature of aging and contribute to a lot of age-related problems. Now, what the research suggests Epithalon does is quite remarkable. It seems to help restore more youthful, robust melatonin production patterns. It's not just about taking melatonin supplements, which many people do. It's potentially about helping the body produce its own melatonin in the right rhythm at more youthful levels. That's a key distinction for long-term health.
And is there specific evidence for this restorative effect, studies showing this happening?
Yes, there are some pretty compelling findings both in animal studies and some small human trials. In animal experiments, it's particularly clear. Giving Epithalon to old monkeys or rats, for example, has been shown to trigger a significant surge of nighttime melatonin.
Really?
Yeah, effectively restoring a more youthful circadian rhythm, a more normal day-night hormone cycle. One classic study showed aged monkeys given Epithalon in the evening produced much higher melatonin levels, similar to younger animals, suggests a direct effect on the pineal gland. And even in small human studies, we've seen similar things. Elderly subjects, for instance, showed nighttime melatonin levels restored closer to those of young adults.
That's significant.
It is. And what's really profound isn't just the potential for better sleep, but that restoring melatonin also seems to help normalize stress hormone patterns like cortisol.
Ah, cortisol, the stress hormone.
Right. Cortisol often gets dysregulated with age, too. A balanced cortisol rhythm, higher in the morning, lower at night, is vital for energy, stress response. Epithalon seems to help nudge that back into balance as well, potentially via the melatonin connection.
So it's not just one hormone, it's helping retune the whole daily hormonal orchestra, if you like, which must have massive implications beyond just sleep, right?
Precisely. You really can't overstate the impact of balanced circadian rhythms and good sleep. They are absolutely fundamental for brain health, mood, memory consolidation, cognitive performance. They also play a huge role in overall longevity, cellular repair processes that happen during sleep, how well our body recovers from daily stress. So, by supporting, potentially restoring more youthful melatonin and robust circadian rhythms, Epithalon indirectly supports all these vital functions. It contributes to a more integrated, healthier aging process, affecting everything from metabolism to immune function.
Okay, so let me see if I can picture this. By helping the body make its own melatonin like it used to, Epithalon is kind of like resetting a dimming house clock. So sleep and recovery run on time, making sure all systems get proper rest and rhythm. And the result might be a sharper brain, deeper sleep. Is that a fair summary? Did I get that right?
That's a perfect summary. Yeah, beautifully put. You've really hit the core mechanism and its broad beneficial ripple effects. It's about restoring that natural rhythm that fades with age, letting the body do its essential maintenance more efficiently, like it did when younger. It's a really significant pathway for healthy aging that Epithalon seems to influence.
It's truly remarkable, isn't it, how one tiny peptide can potentially touch such fundamental parts of our biology. Okay, moving on. Beyond telomeres and circadian rhythms, epithalon also seems to play a role in bolstering our body's defense systems. Things like antioxidant defenses, immune function. Can you walk us through that? Maybe simplify it a bit.
Absolutely. This is another area where Epithalon shows its multifaceted potential, acting almost like a general cellular guardian. So first, let's talk antioxidants and anti-mutagenic properties. Our cells are constantly bombarded by free radicals, unstable molecules causing oxidative damage, basically rusting our cells from the inside.
Right, oxidative stress. We hear that term a lot.
We do, and it contributes hugely to aging and disease. Now, Epithalon has been observed to increase the activity of key protective antioxidant enzymes inside cells. Things like superoxide dismutase, glutathione peroxidase. Think of these as the body's natural internal cleanup crew. They disarm those harmful free radicals, acting like a shield against damage. By boosting them, Epithalon strengthens the cell's own defenses.
So it's not just cleaning up, it's helping the cells power up their own internal defense force against damage.
Exactly, empowering the cell's inherent resilience. And furthermore, Epithalon has been shown in experiments to reduce the rate of harmful DNA mutations and oxidative damage. For instance, in aging mice treated with Epithalon, researchers saw far fewer chromosomal aberrations.
Chromosomal aberrations,
Right.
like broken chromosomes.
Essentially, yes. Broken or rearranged chromosomes. Key markers of cellular stress, genomic instability, a real hallmark of aging. Reducing those indicates a significant protective effect on our genetic blueprint. It also seems to inhibit certain enzymes like MMP9, which are often involved in breaking down tissues and that kind of chronic low-grade inflammation that drives aging. So by inhibiting these bad actors, Epithalon seems to encourage a more youthful gene expression profile, a healthier cellular environment, effectively cleaning house at the molecular level, dialing down the signals of wear and tear.
That's a lot going on, but it sounds like the overall effect is making cells tougher, more resilient. What about the immune system? We know that declines with age too.
Yes, that leads perfectly into immune system modulation, particularly its effects on the thymus gland.
The thymus. Okay, not something we talk about.
No, but it's incredibly vital. It's a small organ in our chest, and its main job is maturing and training our T cells.
T cells, right. Immune cells.
Critical white blood cells, the elite soldiers of our adaptive immune system. But unfortunately, as we age, the thymus tends to shrink and become less effective. It's called thymic involution. This significantly weakens our immune response, makes us more prone to infections, less responsive to vaccines, maybe less effective at clearing out early cancer cells.
Okay, so a shrinking thymus is bad news for immunity as we age.
Definitely. And this is where Epithalon gets really interesting for immune health. Animal studies strongly suggest it can help rejuvenate the thymus. For example, studies in chickens showed Epithalon treatment could restore thymus structure and function. In older animals, this thymic boost seems to translate to more active T cells and better immune surveillance.
Meaning the immune system is more alert.
More vigilant, exactly. Better at identifying and neutralizing threats. It's been seen to increase lymphocyte proliferation in the thymus, which could mean a stronger, more youthful immune response in older bodies. It's like boosting the training ground for our immune cells.
Okay, let me try to simplify this for everyone listening. It sounds like Epithalon is doing two main things on the defense front. One, it's helping our individual cells defend themselves better against daily damage and molecular mess. Two, it's giving a key part of our immune system, the thymus, a kind of tune-up, essentially upgrading our body's overall security system to better handle threats like germs or maybe even rogue cells. This seems really important as our natural defenses weaken with age. Is that a fair summary of these complex ideas?
That's an excellent and very accessible summary. Yes, you've perfectly captured the essence. Epithalon appears to be enhancing the body's own protective and defensive capabilities on multiple fronts, boosting the processes that keep cells healthy and the immune system strong. Absolutely crucial for maintaining health span as we get older. Cleaning house, training the troops that captures it well.
That's a phenomenal range for such a small peptide, touching so many core aspects of aging. Okay, now let's turn to the big boss. The brain, and its sensory extensions like the retina. This is right in your wheelhouse. So what does the research highlight here? With the necessary caveats, of course.
Yes, and it's crucial to start by reiterating that many of Epithalon's potential brain benefits are likely indirect, stemming from those fundamental improvements we've just discussed. When Epithalon helps restore youthful melatonin rhythms and supports better, deeper sleep, well, that naturally translates to a healthier brain.
Makes sense. Sleep is king for the brain.
Absolutely. Improved sleep quality is foundational. It leads to sharper memory consolidation, better mood regulation, better cognitive function overall. So anything improving that fundamental recovery process will have positive ripple effects in the brain.
Okay, that's the indirect route. But are there hints of more direct benefits, acting right on the brain cells themselves?
Yes, there is some exploratory research looking at direct neuronal benefits, hints of neuroprotective, maybe even neurotrophic properties. Some lab studies suggest epithalon can boost what we call neurotrophic factors in brain cells, specifically increasing levels of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
PDNF. Heard of that one? Like miracle grow for the brain?
Uh-huh. Yes, that's the popular term for it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty accurate. BDNF is critical. It supports neuron survival, encourages the growth of new neurons, neurogenesis, and it's vital for synaptic plasticity, learning, memory. So the idea here is by promoting BDNF and similar factors, Epithalon might directly help protect brain cells from damage and even encourage the formation, the growth of new neural connections, which is obviously vital for cognitive resilience as we age. There's also some mention of its role in overall neuroendocrine balance, kind of realigning the brain's daily rhythms, not just via melatonin, but influencing other hormones and neurotransmitters too. This resetting of pineal output and its downstream effects, it's been tentatively linked to better mental alertness in aging animal models, suggests a broader rebalancing within the brain.
That's all very promising for maintaining brain health, especially thinking about age-related cognitive decline. And I remember reading something about vision, too, which makes sense, the retina being part of the brain.
Absolutely. Vision and neural sensory health, specifically the retina, are significant research areas too. The retina, the light-sensing tissue at the back of the eye, it is essentially an extension of the brain, shares similar vulnerabilities. And studies, both in animals and small human trials, do suggest epithalon might offer protection there. For example, in rats bred with a degenerative eye disease, like human retinitis pigmentosa, epithalon treatment significantly slowed the destruction of retinal cells, preserved vision for longer.
Wow.
And even more strikingly, in one small clinical trial with human patients suffering from retinal degeneration, they reported that 90% of epithalon-treated individuals showed positive vision outcomes. Improvements in visual acuity or field of vision. That's pretty significant for neural tissue preservation.
That is a very specific and potentially impactful finding, especially for conditions with few options. But as exciting as all this is, we need that crucial layer of caution, right? Especially around claims of cognitive enhancement or smart drug effects. What's the bottom line?
Absolutely. This needs to be crystal clear. While the indirect benefits from better sleep and the exploratory direct effects like BDNF are incredibly intriguing, it is vital to emphasize evidence for memory enhancement in otherwise healthy people remains purely speculative at this point.
Okay, purely speculative.
Yes, we have to stress no high-quality, large-scale human study has confirmed that epithalon sharpens cognitive performance in healthy individuals. Or, crucially, that it wards off dementia. The most solid claims, the ones we see more consistently, are around improvements in sleep, maybe mood, and supporting general brain health, likely through those effects on melatonin and creating a healthier cellular environment overall. So while researchers are genuinely intrigued by its neuroprotective profile, and some studies are looking at it for things like mild cognitive impairment, the conclusion has to be epithalon may promote a healthier brain aging environment, but it isn't a proven smart enhancer or a guaranteed memory booster for healthy folks seeking an edge. It's more about resilience, a youthful state, not necessarily a direct cognitive power-up.
Got it. Promising for overall brain resilience, especially against age-related decline, but definitely not proven as a cognitive enhancer in healthy people. That distinction is absolutely crucial. Thanks for making that so clear.
Indeed. It's about understanding the current science versus, future potential or speculation.
Okay, let's zoom out now. From cells and organs to the whole organism. What had the animal studies and even those limited human trials told us about epithalon's impact on actual lifespan and maybe even more importantly, health span? Is it just about living longer or potentially living better for longer?
This is really where the potential long-term impact shines, especially in those preclinical models. The animal studies are quite compelling. Epithalon has been repeatedly linked to both longer and critically healthier lives in lab animals. One of the most famous early findings from Cavinson's group. Lab rats given epithalon lived about 20–25% longer than untreated rats.
20 to 25%, that's huge.
It's very significant in rodent terms, yes. Follow-up studies in mice showed similar trends, maybe 10–15% extension of maximum lifespan with monthly injections. The oldest animals lived noticeably longer. We've even seen similar effects in simpler organisms like fruit flies. longer lifespan when exposed to pineal extracts containing epithalon. These aren't trivial bumps. They suggest a fundamental influence on the aging process itself.
Okay, a significant lifespan boost in animals. But as you said, the better years pulse span, that's what really matters to most of us. What did those studies show about the quality of those extra months or years?
Absolutely. The health span aspect is paramount. And crucially, these lifespan gains came with remarkable improvements in numerous health markers, indicating a true extension of health span. For example, Epithalon-treated mice showed much less age-related cellular damage. We talked about fewer chromosome aberrations that points to slower cellular aging across tissues. They also saw lower rates of spontaneous cancers and metastases. In one really dramatic experiment, leukemia rates in mice treated with Epithalon just plummeted by a factor of 6.
Factor of 6, that's astonishing.
It's a massive reduction in a major age-related disease for those animals. Beyond cancer, it seemed to normalize hormone profiles, melatonin, cortisol, but also improvements in insulin sensitivity, metabolic markers, leading to healthier, leaner aging in some models. It preserved organ function, delaying menopause onset in female mice, protecting the retina, as we discussed. And even in cell culture, human fibroblasts treated with Epithalon bypassed the usual Hayflick limit, that normal stop point for cell division, and kept dividing like younger cells. Showing extended productive life at the cellular level suggests a broad systemic positive impact.
That's really profound, touching so many different systems in a positive way. Now, how much of this compelling animal data has actually translated, even preliminarily, to humans?
Well, the translational insights from the small human trials, while obviously limited in scale, are quite encouraging. They often mirror the animal data, which is always a good sign. For instance, elderly volunteers, usually 60 to 80 years old, showed measurable lengthening of telomeres in their blood cells after getting Epithalon. That's a direct human observation of a key proposed action.
Right, the telomere effect seen in people.
Exactly. We also saw that significant hormonal restoration. Older patients given Epithalon had their nighttime melatonin levels restored to those of young adults, which then helped normalize stress hormone cycles. Perfect alignment with the animal data on circadian rhythm. And as we mentioned, the clinical trials for retinal degeneration found significant visual improvement in a high percentage of patients. It's also worth remembering the parent compound, epithalomine. Those large, long-term observational studies in Russia on heart patients taking it for years, they reported a dramatic 50% reduction in cardiovascular deaths.
50%. Wow.
Again, observational, and epithalomine, not exactly epithalon, but it speaks to the potential of these pineal peptides in the historical context. So these human observations, though small, provide important early validation hints.
Okay, so I'm putting this all together.
Yeah.
It's suggesting not just more years, potentially, but better years. Improved quality of life, maintained function, healthier aging markers. That's a really compelling picture, even from early research.
It truly is. The ultimate goal in longevity science is always extending health span, not just lifespan, making sure those extra years are lived with vitality. And the data, especially from animals, corroborated by these early human hints, strongly suggests Epithalon might contribute to both, compressing that period of age-related decline, allowing for a more active later life. That's the hope.
Given all these really intriguing findings, animals, hints in humans, it's no surprise Epithalon has caught the eye of the broader longevity community, right?
Yeah.
Why does it fascinate biohackers and anti-aging enthusiasts so much? What makes it stand out?
Yeah, it really has. Its multi-pathway appeal is key. In those online longevity forums, among biohackers, Epithalon comes up a lot, often called one of the most promising peptides for cellular youth. And the reason it gets so much attention is precisely because it seems to hit multiple fundamental aging targets at once. Telomeres, hormone regulation, oxidative stress reduction, immune support. And then you have those striking lifespan and health span results in animals. It's actually quite rare for one small molecule to show so many seemingly positive effects across such a broad range of core biological processes. It suggests it might be acting as a kind of high-level bioregulator, rebalancing multiple systems.
So the perception is it's like a master key, influencing several different aging pathways, not just one narrow target.
That's definitely the perception, and the research certainly hints at that potential. Now, it sometimes gets called a research supplement or nutraceutical in casual conversation online, and this is absolutely critical to stress, it is not an approved supplement or medicine for human use in Western countries. Not in the US, not in Europe. It's primarily sold and used as a research chemical. often explicitly labeled not for human consumption. That regulatory and safety distinction is huge and cannot be glossed over.
Right. That brings up the whole DIY aspect you see in these communities, people trying to apply research findings themselves. How does that play out, and what are the risks?
You're right, there's a definite do-it-yourself element online. While some specialized longevity clinics, mainly in Eastern Europe, might offer Epithalon therapy, usually injections or nasal sprays under medical guidance. Users in online forums often discuss different dosing cycles, like subcutaneous injection, maybe 1 to 2 milligrams a day for 10 days a month. These protocols are usually based on those older Russian research studies.
Okay.
But, and this is vital, there's no universally agreed protocol for human use. None. These discussions, these practices, they're happening completely outside regulated, evidence-based medical guidelines. And what's so important to remember amidst all the enthusiasm and anecdotes is the need for real caution. Despite the hype, despite the exciting preclinical data, the human evidence is still weak, period. Epithalon remains firmly experimental. All the human trials so far. Small scale, often not randomized, lacking placebo controls. They just don't meet the gold standard needed for medical approval. It's impossible to draw firm conclusions about efficacy or safety for most people based on what we have now.
So we really need to frame this carefully. Avoid any implication it's a standard treatment, a regular supplement, or something athletes should use.
Absolutely. Our job is to report the science impartially. No guidance on usage, dosing, sourcing, administration routes. No claims of preventing or treating anything. We have to stick to framing it as research findings, areas of investigation, observations, and preclinical models. Use terms like studied, investigated, associated, and preclinical models. And never call it a medication or drug for human use outside strict experimental settings. It's definitely not approved for routine use or for athletes. That raises all sorts of ethical and regulatory flags. Careful framing is essential for scientific integrity and listener safety.
That's a very clear and crucial distinction. Okay, speaking of what's still needed, what are the biggest research gaps right now? What would really good future studies need to look like to truly understand Epithalon's potential and its limits?
The biggest gap, without a doubt, is a lack of definitive, large-scale human clinical evidence. Can't stress that enough. We have compelling animal and cell data, intriguing hints from small human trials on markers like telomeres and melatonin, but just no large placebo-controlled, double-blind human studies on Epithalon's effects on aging or disease. This means, despite all the promise, we genuinely don't know if it meaningfully improves hard health outcomes, extends human lifespan, or prevents age-related diseases in people the way it seems to in lab animals. Without those big, rigorous studies, its clinical utility remains unproven.
So until those happen, we can't say for sure it translates to better health or longevity for the average person? Critical point.
Exactly. Another major uncertainty is the precise mechanism. Telomerase activation is part of it, sure. But is it the only reason for all the effects? Probably not. There could be other pathways we haven't fully mapped out yet. And then there's that theoretical concern, the double-edged sword of telomerase activation.
Right, the cancer risk idea.
Theoretically, if you activate telomerase in existing, maybe undetected cancer cells, could it help them grow? Make them immortal? It's a valid biological question. Now, importantly, the animal studies with Epithalon actually showed a reduction in tumors, lower cancer rates, which is reassuring, but...
That animals aren't humans.
Precisely. The long-term cancer risk in humans is currently unknown. This theoretical concern about systemic telomerase activation causing uncontrolled cell growth, it's still something scientists are cautious about, mainly because we just don't have enough long-term human data. It's a complex trade-off needing careful study.
That's a really important nuance, the theory versus the animal data versus the human unknown. What about practical things? Dosage, how to take it, quality control, big hurdles for experimental stuff.
Huge unknowns there, too. Animal studies use specific cyclic dosing, often injections. Does that apply to people? Is oral better? Nasal? We don't know the optimal human dose or schedule. And because it's not regulated like a pharmaceutical, the purity, potency, quality, it can vary wildly between suppliers. That's a major safety concern for anyone sourcing it. Lack of standardization makes reliable research, let alone safe personal use, extremely difficult. As for side effects reported, in the small studies and anecdotes, they seem few and minor. Slight redness at injection site, maybe transient headaches, fatigue. Some report feeling unusually sleepy at first, probably the melatonin effect.
Okay, generally mild in the short term?
Seems so. But while major acute toxicity hasn't really been seen, the long-term safety profile is still wide open. This stuff aims to influence fundamental aging over years, decades. We absolutely need to know what happens with regular use long term. Could it disrupt normal cell turnover? Unknown hormonal effects? Epigenetic changes? Huge questions needing thorough long-term studies.
And finally, do we even know exactly what it's interacting with inside the cell? The specific targets?
Not entirely. It seems to hit multiple targets: telomerase, pineal genes, immune signals. Scientists are still teasing apart which effects are primary and which are downstream benefits. Like, is life extension mostly telomeres? Or hormones? Or both? The exact peptide receptor interactions aren't fully clear. We don't have the complete picture of how those four amino acids trigger all these effects. It's an active research area. So, summing up the gaps, we urgently need larger, controlled, rigorously designed human studies to confirm benefits, clarify long-term safety, standardize protocols, understand dose rate differences, map the precise molecular targets. Without those, Epithalon stays firmly in the realm of promising research, not established therapy. And again, always using that careful language: studied, investigated, associated in preclinical models. Never medication or drug outside a proper clinical trial.
Thank you. That lays out the gaps so clearly. It really helps put everything in perspective, balancing the excitement with the necessary scientific caution. So if we bring it all together now for our listeners, what's the most powerful distilled takeaway from today's deep dive into Epithalon?
Well, connecting all these threads, Epithalon is really a remarkable example of how a simple, elegant molecule can shed light on the incredibly complex biology of aging. It does seem to stand out because of its apparent ability to influence multiple key pathways simultaneously: hormones, cellular repair genes, DNA protection, immune function. That multi-target approach is very appealing when thinking about how we might support healthy aging someday.
So it's about understanding and maybe gently influencing the body's own programming, nudging it back towards a more youthful pattern.
Precisely. It is a potent experimental peptide. It offers us this exciting glimpse into potential future therapies for age-related decline, a window into how we might someday tackle aging at its roots, moving beyond just managing symptoms to targeting the fundamental processes. However, and it's a big however, it's absolutely crucial to keep the perspective we've stressed. All the exciting potential comes with a huge caveat that definitive, large-scale human evidence is still missing. The gap between a lab mouse and a healthy 80-year-old person is substantial.
So Epithalon represents promising research on cellular aging and sleep rhythms, a really fascinating area. But it's unequivocally still early days for human application.
Exactly. It's a potent reminder that the line between intriguing research and established, approved medicine is very distinct. Ultimately, healthy aging still fundamentally relies on those lifelong proactive habits: good nutrition, regular exercise, consistent quality sleep, managing stress, mental health. Epithalon and peptides, like it might someday join that toolkit, but for now, it remains a truly fascinating research frontier, pushing the boundaries of our biological understanding.
That's a fantastic summary and a really thought-provoking conclusion. Exciting potential, but absolutely demanding rigorous science going forward. Thank you so much for breaking all that down in such a clear, understandable way, making the complex accessible.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. It's a compelling area, definitely one to watch as the research evolves. Glad I could discuss it with you and your listeners.
And to all of you listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Epithalon. It really is a remarkable example of how a simple molecule can illuminate the complexity of aging, a glimpse into what future anti-aging strategies might even look like. And if this conversation sparked your curiosity, maybe consider this. If one tiny peptide can seemingly nudge so many fundamental systems towards youthfulness, what does that truly say about the untapped potential, the plasticity of our own biology? What other master keys might still be waiting inside us, or waiting to be designed, to really redefine what aging means? Before we wrap up, just that quick but very important reminder. The mentioned products and peptides are not intended to refer to any peptides or products sold by Power Peptides. Products sold are strictly for research purposes and not intended for human consumption. If you found this conversation insightful, maybe a bit mind-bending, don't forget to subscribe to Deep Dive for more episodes. We're always exploring the cutting edge, trying to bring you the important nuggets. Until next time, stay curious.